Man found dead just 12 hours after arriving in the Bahamas. Family vacation turns into a nightmare. It was supposed to be a dream getaway. 23-year-old Dinari McAlmont. Uh-oh. There we go. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
We'll have to edit that out. Where was I?
Just start over.
Okay. Man found dead just 12 hours after arriving in the Bahamas. Family vacation turns into a nightmare. It was supposed to be a dream getaway. 23-year-old Dinari McAlmont touched down in the Bahamas with his parents on April 4th, just a few days ago. He was ready for the sun, surf, and unforgettable memories at the Atlantis Paradise Island resort. But within 12 hours, he was found dead on a nearby shoreline, his face beaten, foam around his mouth, and his hair filled with sand. How does a young man vanish from a bustling luxury resort only to be discovered lifeless on a beach at dawn? Tonight, we're diving into the chilling timeline of events, exploring the missing security footage, the resort staff's suspicious allegations, and the family's search for justice. To help us unravel the truth, we'll speak to TJ Ward, a seasoned private investigator known for digging deep into high-profile cases. Could missing surveillance tapes hold the key? Welcome to Timeless Mysteries Live Edition. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I also want to welcome TJ Ward and Jennifer back to the show. I've got lots of questions. There's lots of missing information. Is this a cover-up? TJ, what do you think happened?
Well, there's things that's got to be looked into, and thank you for having me on the show. One of the things that these islands, and this is not the first one we've talked about, their tourism is their most important thing about cases that come up like this. They got to talk about and make it look like that this was just an accident or whatever, and it may be. We don't know yet. If I have an opportunity to look into it and go there, I'll be more than happy to if the family reaches out to me and look into it. I'm very familiar with the Bahamas. I used to have a condo in Paradise Island at the Atlantis, as a matter of fact. So it's not going to be new to me to be able to deal with here. And I have contacts there who are in the legal business. So I would already call and make contact with them. I was asked earlier today to be on the media tonight, but if they wanted the family on first. So the family's reaching out to the media tonight and try to give some answers that may not have been answered by law enforcement. But you have to understand.
Can you give us describe the picture of this area for us so we can get an idea? This is
a very beautiful place. I mean, the Atlantis is probably one of the best known places in the Bahamas. And on Paradise Island is very, I mean, it's very nice, very expensive. It's a very nice place to be. They have a underground aquarium in the hotel. And
Atlantis, right?
Yeah, in the Atlantis, where the dining room is, the whole wall of one of the dining room areas is all the aquarium. You can see all the sharks and everything else. I mean, it's very, very nice, very unique. They matter of fact, they've just added onto it again to put more hotel space in. So it'll be interesting to look. You have to understand, law enforcement in these other countries are not up to speed like we are here. And I can tell you that from being in law enforcement for 47 years, and I've been on the island 30 or 40 times. So I know the area. I've got contacts there. They're in the legal business there. I've already reached out to them. So if the family hopefully gets in touch with me and I go there, I'll be more than happy to help them to see if I can find answers.
Yeah, this is one of the more wealthy areas too of the Bahamas, where people, they travel, they go shopping. I mean,
when you cross the bridge into Paradise Island, it's Paradise Island. It's got all their stores and and you know, the whole area is in Paradise Island. Once you cross the bridge and go into the island, I mean, it's very, very nice. Very nice. But
So,
again,
Jennifer, you wanted to talk about this statement that was given from the people in the Bahamas.
Yeah, let's go ahead, you guys, and take a look at this. You know, we always want to bring facts into the cases we talk about. But then also we will talk about what the family said may have also happened while on this vacation together. So this statement was released, and up on your screen there, update on death investigation, Paradise Island. Police wish to inform the public that the male body who was found unresponsive on a beach in Paradise Island was officially identified as 23-year-old Dinari McAlmont of Bowie, Maryland. And TJ was telling me that's a bigger town. I haven't heard of it, but so he arrived in the Bahamas on April 4th, and he was here on a family vacation. This was not a wild spring break party setting. This was a family vacation. And here's where things get interesting. Officials say a post-mortem examination was performed. Pathologists' findings revealed that the deceased died as a result of a drowning. Further, police are still awaiting forensic toxicology analysis, and investigators are still searching. They said foul play is not suspected at this time. The matter will be forwarded to His Majesty Coroner. No mention of
the injuries,
right? So, Rob, if we kind of want to get into that with TJ and talk about what the family is saying on their account.
Do I have that information on here?
The family is very upset right now. I read some documentation that Jennifer sent me, and the family is outraged of what's happened. But again, you have to understand, law enforcement there is not the same as it is here. And we have tools here that we can use to determine some things. And I have tools that Jennifer knows about, that if there's witnesses, there's got to be cameras. There's cameras all over Paradise Island. I mean, everywhere. And so, as you can see, the family member says, my nephew, Dinari McAlmont, was brutally murdered at the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas, and we need justice. Well, they came to the right place if they call me, because that's what I'm going to be looking for, every angle and every piece of evidence that's there. And I got to get cooperation from law enforcement. And hopefully, if I do get an opportunity to go there, I have people that work with the government that are lawyers, and I can get to them first in order to get cooperation from law enforcement. But again, it's completely different there in law enforcement than it is here in the U.S. So we have to take that in consideration, and hopefully the family will reach out to us and we can try to help them.
Well, I did, reach out to Marcel, the aunt and uncle, and on our behalf offered our condolences and said TJ is willing to help get some answers for you guys. So just reach out when you're ready. We all know when it's a missing persons case, time is important, but we do unfortunately have a deceased person in this situation. I can go ahead and read you guys what the family said. So the family said that the resort officials came to the parents' room and questioned about his whereabouts. The staff accused him of spitting on several workers outside of one of the hotel's restaurants. And this is a quote from Michelle, his mother. The police said they were looking for him because apparently he spat on some staff in a restaurant. She said she could not verify if this was true. We all know there's probably cameras, right?
There's cameras everywhere. I can tell you that.
Right. So this dispute should be on camera. After scouring the resort, they didn't find him. So the family then filed a missing persons report. And then we have this report that his body was found, sand. I want to mention this because it was very important to her in her interview. Her son loved his hair. He took pride in his hair, and them finding him with sand in his hair and him just a mess was very hard for her. So things are not adding up to what we're hearing hotel staff say, what's in this release in regards to the autopsy. Lots of confusion going on.
The stuff that I've been seeing on the news is that there's like the time period between 9 p.m. and 5:30. Nobody seems to know where Dinari was and who he was with, or if anyone saw them. And you mentioned that the security staff have claimed that there was some sort of altercation and he spit in their face. But the other thing that I'm hearing is that there hasn't been any confirmed security footage showing any of this. And then, you kind of touched on the injuries. He had facial injuries, and, there was some foam around his mouth. I'm not sure what that would have been for. Maybe some sort of asphyxiation could have probably caused that. I don't know. But there's like a lot of questions and nobody really knows what's going on. It's almost like there's a cover up or something.
Well, there's cameras, there's witnesses, and whoever he got in an altercation with, they need to be found. They need to be questioned. And again, that's something we can do and get in cooperation from the police. I'm sure if they didn't cooperate, that would not be good for them. Here I am coming. If I came from the U.S. and I'm a trained investigator to come there, I'd hope there would be joint cooperation with the Bahamian police. And but again, we need to see what the evidence they have, because just a little bit that's been written is nothing that tells us anything. So somebody needs to go there and get answers. And I don't know if the family's still there, if they came home, or where the body is, or anything else. And if they didn't embalm the body there, they need to get the body back to the U.S. and then do an autopsy here, so we have real evidence besides what they're showing.
That's an excellent point, TJ. Mm-hmm. Don't trust just that one autopsy.
That's what happens in this other thing that's about to come about in Anguilla. I hope they didn't embalm the body wherever the body is right now. I mean, they can do an autopsy, but an autopsy can be done here also, and it may find the same thing, or they may find something different and other evidence, which is going to be real important as far as this investigation is concerned.
You made a point about how our law enforcement is so different. Even working in a newsroom, and we'd get releases like this all day long. Our releases, and I would say most of the police departments and the federal agencies, are very detailed. This is not detailed. It does not say he was found at 3 a.m. on the beach. I mean, when they investigate, they're giving you times, they're giving you locations. I mean, this is very vague, in my opinion.
It is very vague. It's nowhere near to conclude an investigation or conclude an answer of what transpired until you have all the evidence. And obviously there's evidence out there because there's cameras, there's witnesses. Somebody saw something. Apparently he had an altercation with somebody. That person needs to be found and interviewed, and all that needs to be out. And I just hope if I get a chance to go there, law enforcement's going to cooperate and get what we need to look at. So, but
how would we, TJ, how would we press to have this person talked to, I mean, not even an interrogation, but an interview where they would tell us what the altercation was about. You know, we have a person whose autopsy said it's a drowning, but yet we have this altercation that happened and we need answers to that.
I want to see a police report. I want to see a police report. There's got to be a police report made about somebody dying and about what transpired. Somebody had to write something, and it's probably in a detective's hands now or whatever, but something needs to be looked at. We haven't heard anything about a police report yet.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. I hope the family filed one.
Well, the police,
or did the hotel staff file one against him? I mean,
there'll be a police report made by law enforcement that got involved with this, and that's what I want to see. I want to see who, what, where, how, and when, what they did. That's the important thing. And again, you got to remember the major part of this whole case coming up and being, now it's all over the media, is who's going to keep coming to the Bahamas.
Right.
Okay, tourism is the number one thing in these countries that get their money from people that come from another country. That's where their money is. And if they got things like this that's scaring them and things that happen, this is not good for tourism. Okay, so that's their number one priority. And they'll try to keep this as low key as they can. That's why you haven't heard of anything major about any incident that's occurred or anything else, because right now only they put out that he drowned. Okay, well, that's not a problem for tourism. If you're coming up and say he got into an altercation with workers at the hotel or something like that, and there was an altercation happening and somebody did something to him, that's a whole different ball of wax.
It seemed like Lauren kind of touched on that a second ago when she made this comment that, I'm just going to stay out of the Caribbean. And I think, the hotel would definitely want this to be something simple, an accident of some kind, rather than some sort of scary altercation.
There's a lot of crime in the Bahamas. Okay. Lots of crime. Go read about it. There's a lot of crime in the Bahamas. You get outside of Paradise Island. Now, Paradise Island is pretty safe, but get outside of Paradise Island, there's a lot of dangerous areas in the Bahamas. Okay, I can tell you that. I met my ex-wife there and brought her here. That's where she was living. Okay, and I know the Bahamas. I've been there many, many times. I've been all over the Bahamas. And so there's things that need to be looked at getting started on this. And it's going to take somebody that's got professionalism to be able to go look and find it. Okay.
And that's the problem, TJ. I feel like they don't want you there, and we all know why.
Well, it'll get out, because if I go there, the media is going there. Okay.
Right.
And if media goes there, then they got some tourism issues. But if I got hired, it will go out in the media that I'm going there, and the media is going to come there for a story. Okay. And they're going to find out. We need to find out what the real story is. And this family's already upset. They're upset with what's going on in the situation. So hopes that they'll get somebody of my caliber involved and let me, if I go down there, I know exactly what I will do and where I would get started. But I would have to deal with law enforcement, and I have to let them know why I'm there, and hope I get cooperation out of it.
Right. It would almost be good for them to release the footage if there is a said altercation that happened. Just so we can get a better picture.
They would need to tell me, because the second thing I would do is go to the American media, and they don't want that. So they need, if they cooperate and want to work with me and help, we need to find answers. Somebody died. Okay, it doesn't matter, whose fault it is or who was involved. Even if they live there, if there's something that's not right, it needs to be fixed. And this guy got murdered, basically murdered or assaulted, or he died from something that happened between him and another person. We have to get answers. We have to get answers.
And it's so different from a case, you know, which we were just talking about a week ago, where it's a spring break situation. People are partying. There's lots of alcohol flowing. This doesn't really sound like that type of situation. This sounds like a family gathering. Sure, maybe a couple drinks were had, but this is not, you know, some type of out of control situation. And it makes me think, TJ, is spring break one of the busier times where people are reaching out to you?
Yes. There's a lot of things going on. These beaches and areas, I mean, law enforcement has to double up on these areas when spring breaks here. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on, even here in the U.S. You talk about Panama City and Daytona and places like that. They have to double up and with the beaches and the tourism and where all the areas are with the partying's going on. I mean, look what happened yesterday in Dominican Republic. There was two former Atlanta Braves that died down there. Then the roof caved in. There's 115 people dead right now from Dominican Republic. Not to say that they're not getting attention in the last few weeks. Lots of attention. And with this girl going missing, and Jennifer, you know what we learned today listening to in that case. So there's other things to look at. Is just in hopes that if the family, and again, this may be a case that we have to try to raise money to go down there and find out.
Can you talk a little bit about that too, TJ? Because I don't want, you know, if of course I'm going to share this podcast with the aunt, you know, so she can take a look. I don't want them to think that, you know, we're hire us to help you type thing. Talk about how you have raised funds in the past to help families.
When people don't have money,
expertise.
I know everybody's entitled to have somebody like me or a good lawyer on board. And sometimes you have to go above and beyond and put it out to the public and get their donations and to help to send me down there. And it's not hard to do because, one, this case, and just like the other case, is already out in the media, so everybody knows about it, and people want to reach in their pockets and donate and help people and to raise money for me to go down there to help. So it's not hard to do that, and the family needs to know that. And apparently they're from Maryland, and so this is in the national media now, so people are going to know about it if it goes out, and we have to build something up for it to get out to try to raise money. We'll be more than happy to do that for them. But I want them on board. They'd have to sign my contract, and we'd raise money for them to get me down there and do what we need to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's not like they're dishing money out of their pocket to make this happen. We've seen you do it with other cases.
I've done it with other cases, raising money. I had a case right here in Atlanta. Part of the family was in Maryland, and the other was here in Atlanta, and we raised $28,000 in less than 24 hours to pay for us to do the investigation. And it was a big, big case here in Atlanta. A girl, and ironically, they've arrested 3 people, but I don't think they found her body yet. But interesting enough, and the problem here, the Atlanta police didn't want to deal with me. And so I had to go another route to get answers. But you have to see, law enforcement sometimes gets a little offended about somebody from the outside coming in. So I have to do it in such a way that I deal with them and let them know who I am and what my background is. And I'm not just a private eye. I've got 47 years of law enforcement experience. I've been there and done that.
We have the Natalie Holloway case that went on for 18 years.
Yep.
And it's about teamwork too, right? Not just
exactly. Well, they would love for me to come down there and be able to help me with this, and I mean, it would be in their benefit. Especially again, I hate rolling back, but tourism will be a big problem for them if they don't deal and try to find out what really happened. and it needs to get out, and people need to know about it. It's going to help them more to know that they're looking into it and they're trying to do something about it than it would be trying to cover it up. This little bit of evidence that we got tonight is nothing. Okay, it doesn't tell us anything about the case other than he's died and they think he drowned. So, but we need to find the proof that if it is only a drowning, we need to find that. But apparently, what the family knows that something's happened and they think it's being covered up. So, somebody that doesn't belong there needs to come help them. And I'll be more than happy to jump on it. And if we can get to the family and let me talk to them and tell them what we can do and tell them how I can raise money for them and get this out publicly and get the media involved. That's going to be the big thing about somebody like me going down there, is get the media in your back door. Because if they don't cooperate, I can turn around to the other direction and start talking about and tell them why they're not cooperating. So, I mean, it's real important. I mean, when I was in Aruba, the media stayed there for almost 2 years. Every media outlet in this country was in Aruba. I can tell you that because I was on TV every single night the whole time I was there. And every time I'd show back up, they were looking for me. And they wanted to talk and see what I found today. And that's going to be real important in this case, too. This is an island people have gone to. They want to go there to have fun. And now something tragic's happened, and we need to find out about the tragedy. And we need to see if it was an accident or somebody's involved. Real important.
I just want to say that, my thoughts and prayers are going out to the family. I know that they are suffering deeply right now. But TJ, what would you say to people who have already got plane tickets to go there? I mean, should they cancel their plane tickets, you think, or do they?
No, I don't think they need to cancel going there. I mean, the Atlantis is a great place. It's nice. It's a big casino. It's a big hotel. There's a lot of things to do there on the island. A lot of water sports. There's a lot of things to do. I mean, it's very well. It's controlled. I mean, they got their own security there, also along with law enforcement. I wouldn't say anything bad about the Atlantis. I mean, it's a nice place. It really is, and very expensive, but it's a great place to go. And they just built another hotel on the island that was built by the Chinese, and it's almost as big as the Atlantis. Also, it's on the other side of the island. That just got finished about I want to say 4 years ago, because I used to travel there all the time. I mean, I had a timeshare there. My sister had a timeshare there, so we used to go there. My kids have been there, and but it's a great place. But there's a lot of crime there. I've had people try to sell me drugs while I was there. I mean, they didn't know that in my back pocket I got a badge.
Yeah, I mean, my husband and I took a cruise, the last vacation we've taken since kids, but they warn you when you get off the cruise ship, be careful, be alert, women, watch your bags, kind of keep them in front of you. These people, there are skilled thieves out there. They're waiting for tourists, just waiting for them.
One of these islands, the same thing, what you just said. They know the tourists come in, the boats are coming in. There's a lot of opportunity for them to commit crimes, and somebody's going to be getting back on a boat or leaving or getting back on an airplane, so they can get away with it. And but I mean, law enforcement's good there. I mean, it's a big country. But anyway, it needs to be looked into. It really does. And I hope that. Along with the media that I spoke to tonight, we'll get out to the family and get them in my direction. I know Jennifer's put some information out to the family also, and let them know that I'm there to help them. And I will do the thing. I mean, I've worked probably more than any other investigator, worked on cases outside of the country. So I'm familiar with right now with about 5 different companies in the Caribbean that I've worked investigations on. So I know the rules and how it works. So it's real important.
Yeah. Well, TJ, I know you said you had other things you needed to do tonight. Do you need to get off here, or you still want to talk for a while?
I'm good. If we're done talking about that and you're talking about something else, I'll be more than happy. I'll come back on with you if you need me again, and we'll go from there. If the family calls me, I'll let you know, and we can get back on board, and I'll tell you what we need to do.
Sounds good. Yeah. TJ, thanks for joining
Okay.
us tonight.
Thank you
We
very
really
much.
appreciate having you here.
Okay, thank you. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, TJ.
So, Jennifer, what do you think about all of this?
I'm really torn. I mean, I watched the video of the mother, and she is so distraught.
I could only imagine. Like you
So
can't be. It's scary to think, something that tragic can happen on a family vacation of all things.
and I reached out to his aunt, and his mother is on Facebook, but after seeing her reaction in an interview she did just yesterday, I'm a little hesitant. I feel sometimes it's better to go through relatives before you get to the family. However, if they reach out to TJ directly, that's amazing. But right now they're really traumatized. So I'm, hoping maybe the aunt gets my message and
I hope so too.
wants his help.
I have a lot of faith in
Something-
TJ. I think
Yeah.
he would make a difference, and they could get some closure. They could find out what actually happened, and if it was just a drowning, then they would know for sure. But it doesn't seem like a drowning to me. It does seem a
No.
lot more like a cover up, especially with the lack of like video footage, the lack of evidence. Like there's everything, like you said, is vague. It's kind of scary. I don't know what I would do in this situation.
I think the like TJ mentioned, I don't want to use the word like a third world or anything like that, because by no means is it that. But you can just even tell in this police report that it's not very detailed. Like, did the family members even have answers to what time was he found? Where was he located? Some of these reports we get are so detailed where it's like he was 50 feet south of the pier, or you know what I mean? And
Right.
in this, we're getting nothing except
and
they're going to do a toxicology test. I'm sure they're going to try to say he was intoxicated. And I guess I would be interested to know what the waters are like there at the resort. Did I send you something that there was I don't believe they have red flag warning up, but there was some type of warning. However, you would think that there would be some cameras also pointed towards the beach as well to kind of see what people are doing. And like TJ was saying, this is a really fancy area. So I have to think there's cameras everywhere.
Right. If they're not releasing the footage, there's a reason. But I think TJ had a really good point. It's better for them to find out exactly what happened, be very transparent about it, and handle it, rather than try to like sweep it under the rug. Because I don't think it's going to work that way. I think somebody's going to go there and somebody's going to investigate this, and we're going to something's going to be found out. And
I'm just, my mind is kind of blown, because this was a dinner with your family, and it's like a little resort, and it's not this type of situation where we're thinking of the crazy spring break party. And I just can't get over thinking, like, imagine going on a vacation with your family and one of your family members passes away on this trip. I love what TJ said about getting the autopsy done here, because he was mentioning in another case, they did the embalming. I hope I'm saying that right. And then they were not able to do their own autopsy here. And I think that's really important. I probably believe our technology is a little better in that department. And are they going to be very thorough and talk about these bruises we were discussing in regards to this altercation? We've all looked at autopsy reports in the US. They are very, very, very detailed. I mean, they'll talk about how many inches your birthmark is.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting if and when this autopsy gets released. I can't tell you I know the laws in regards to that. That's something that I have to do research on. And that was something I was thinking about today when we were talking about the Seduksha Kaniki case. Usually in the United States, they will later release an investigation video so we could go back, and look at it. I don't know the laws there, because technically, if they were to release that footage of Josh being questioned, TJ could go run that through the audio machine right now and tell if he's being deceptive. But because their laws are different, we can't do a media request and say, hey, we need this report. That's the unfortunate thing about having to deal with things like this in a different country. You're up against the unknown.
Right. And as far as I know, they still haven't found anything else out about this case either.
Yeah, I know. I was with TJ today. I know he won't mind me saying this, but he was getting a phone call every 15 minutes. We were actually doing a whole separate video that I wanted him to do on the Chris Watts audio. And he was getting calls all day about Seduksha's case. And one of the women, oddly enough, was a psychic. And she was saying, I have a friend who's a very powerful psychic who lives near you. And she is so detailed, she would be able to tell you who these people are, what they look like, But, I know you're a skeptic, Rob, about that. But it just goes to show you, TJ gets all kinds of different tips. He gets tips from credible people. He gets tips from prisoners. He gets tips from psychics. I mean, it is.
Yeah. As far as my skepticism goes, I believe that people can, use their own intuition to, jump to conclusions that normal people wouldn't get and then make an assumption that's accurate. But I don't know that I would call that, psychic vibes. But, it's just, I believe that there are people who can find things and, make those kind of like intuitive leaps that others can't, and kind of help, I guess, tell the future, sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But it was just interesting, and I think when you have no hope left, which I'm sure Natalie Holloway's mom was like that towards the beginning of Natalie's case.
Have you watched the documentary?
The Oxygen? Yeah.
Yeah. That show is intense.
Beth was not a fan of that. But, Dave took part in it. But I think, early on when you have no answers, I know if it were my kid, if a psychic called me and said, go look in this area, I would do it. What do I have to lose? So yeah, it was really interesting. And, I really would like that. That was something I was talking to TJ today. I would like to reach out to Josh's family I'd like to reach out to Josh directly, but his dad did go with him down there, so obviously they're close.
Speaking of Josh, I keep getting comments about a large amount of money that was supposedly deposited into a bank account. Is there any way we can find out if that's accurate? They're saying like there's this $60,000 that ended up in his bank account the next morning.
TJ
the
can't.
days of what?
TJ can actually. I got a quote of him.
I mean, I don't know if I should. I mean, when they tell me this, I don't know what to say. It's like,
right.
I can't prove it. I can't.
I mean, he could. The problem is,
if that was true, and these people know it, why don't the police know it, and why didn't they investigate him further? Because that's very suspicious if it's true.
Yeah, and then, but like, you and I always say it could just be rumor, but if it's true, that right there, like, red flag, we need to be investigating. I would like Josh to be open to talking to TJ, because if Josh can clear his name, and I understand he has legally been cleared of it, but just having an expert like TJ do the voice analysis, I think just a second set of eyeballs on this case saying you're good, now we can move on to a different angle, which is the angle I'm leaning towards of the human trafficking going on.
Yeah, I really would find it like surprising if he had anything to do with it. I mean, just what I've seen of him, it just doesn't give me those same vibes that I get from other scenarios where you can just you're like, wow, there's like super big, giant, glaring red flags going, this guy knows something. But there is a lot of people. I'm telling you, I got dozens of people leaving comments on that video that we did, and they're telling me about this money, and it just, I'm like, I want to believe it, but I don't see it. I think if anything, that guy was just drugged and, made to where he can't do anything to protect her. And so they just got her on her own and took her somewhere.
Yeah. Where did you see the thing about the $60,000?
It's in our stream from last time.
That's where I've heard it from. Like,
they left comments, and they're telling me all this stuff, and I just think it's worth looking into. I know that when I responded to those comments, I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is,
I literally heard him today say, he was on the phone with someone. He goes, I can find out where money's been moved and all that. The thing I love about TJ is he respects people's families, and he does not just go searching for answers without their permission. And the interesting thing that the woman said today, she was of Indian descent. She told us that she feels the reason the family is giving up and wanting that death certificate is because they don't want to show that Sadiq Shah was drinking alcohol and she was kissing a boy that she didn't know, which in American culture, that happens like every Saturday night in college, right? College age kids.
Yeah.
But in their culture, that is not a norm.
Yeah, there was a couple of people who told me that the culture thing isn't really relevant. That's not the reason that they're not wanting to search. I don't know the people who are leaving the comments. You got to realize that, but they describe things in a way that kind of makes me feel it's a genuine thing. And so I don't know that it was something like that. I suspect it's more along the lines they just don't want to be national news, because we know what happens. There's people still talking about cases that are years and years old. Yes. Hey, riding down the rabbit hole. You'll have to go back and watch the beginning of this. We had TJ Ward back on the show, and we're trying to find out what happened to a young man who died in the Bahamas.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think it's awesome how TJ is willing to raise the funding too. You know, this is not just like a TJ Ward advertisement. You know, he's done this before, where people are coming together as a team and as a community to get answers. And I think that is so important, that we could help this family. We could help Sadiq's family. Yeah, you'll watch the replay. Also, Rob, if you wanted to kind of know a little bit about today, and switch to Watts chat.
I feel like we'd have to like turn this off and then start it over again in like
no,
5 or 10
you
minutes.
Watch like the views
Because
start.
then it could be its own
because
like,
the headlines
segment.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, we could. I mean, it'll just be like one of those
that.
like.
Actually, it's been just like such a long day. We could actually do that tomorrow, and we can.
Well,
recap
maybe I won't be able. I might not be able to do it tomorrow, but if we do, it'd have to be. Well, we'd have to start about right now.
Wait, what's tomorrow? I'm like, or we could do it Friday. But either way, and you know what, Friday is fine too, because then I have time to edit the video. Riding Down the Rabbit Hole said she watched it and it was awesome. I'm telling you, it was like so good. I had to go live because my intentions for the piece were to record it with my GoPro and another camera and then edit it together later and put it together. But like the results of this technology he was talking about was like mind blowing. So I'm really excited for that piece. And it's,
you know what? Let me just like play like a little piece of that just to give people an idea. I'm just going to randomly pick a spot in the middle. Because today that's what I did. And what I found was
the best piece is the last clip uploaded where Chris does the interview on the porch.
Okay, I think I see it here.
Yeah, the thing goes nuts. And when I do this video, I'll explain to you guys a little more about some of the
you guys ready for this?
Yeah, the results. That's Rob telling
this is
me
really
to shut
interesting.
up.
You know, when you first showed me that, I was kind of disappointed. I didn't get to be a part of it whenever you're doing it, you know, doing the tests and stuff. But it's okay.
Well, we're going to do more. So
yeah. Well, you know, whenever you first mentioned this thing to me, I thought it would be funny to do like a show where we, you know, ask you some questions and see if we can tell if you're lying about it.
Well, that's what he did when he did this with my news station. But I thought the Watts thing was a great example because we know Chris was lying on TV, right? And then when he's in Wisconsin, he's not worried about facing other charges because he's like maxed out on what they can charge him with. So it was just interesting to see the difference, you know, in the results. But it just goes to show, I mean, there's so many cases we could do this on. We could do it on Casey Anthony. I mean, my head in the car was just like, we got to do this one. We got to do this one.
Well, you know, you got to be wanting to ask your husband some questions too with this thing, right?
No, I know all those answers.
Like I would want to do that. If I had one of these things, like I would just like carry it around with me and be like, you know,
we're too boring. We're boring. We live in the house with the kids and we're boring. But
so I'm going to go ahead and
just thinking there's so
right
many
here,
cases that this could be helpful with. And, you know, one of them was just the other night doing that the guy from prison who called Tammy Lee. And everyone's like, oh, he's lying. No, he's telling the truth. Well, we could have just ran his audio through this device. And TJ's trying to get this, you know, in other police departments. He did say that he reached out to Donald Trump, but also TJ found it. It is made in another country, but he kind of like purchased the rights for it to use it the way he's using it. And you know, he wants to be the go-to person they come to kind of lease it, rent it out, what have you. But I mean, like, I was just blown away by it.
Yeah. You know, I've always wanted to get like a lie detector thing attached to me and see if I could fake it. Because I've seen
Right.
too many movies where it's possible, you know, and I know the statistics are that they don't usually, they're about 50-50 on whether or not they're admissible in court, just for a regular lie detector. So I don't see why another type of lie detector wouldn't be useful in some way, even
Right.
if I think it's actually more than 50% accurate. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know the politics on that kind of
It
stuff.
is. He said, what was it? I want to say it was 93% accurate. Honestly, I'll find it in here. If you want to play that, I'll kind of dig around here and.
Okay, I'm gonna play it. I think this is about where you guys start.
She wasn't here. Kids weren't here. I have no idea like where they went. And
Can you guys hear that?
it's just earth shattering. I don't feel like this is even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up from. Chris, when did you
Maybe bump it up a little.
I guess I texted her a few times, called her, and didn't get a response, which that was a little off. And then her friend Nicole showed up about.
I don't know how to make it louder.
Doorbell camera. And I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "I can't get a hold of Shanann." And that's when I was just like, "All right, something's not right." She's not answering the door. She said the car was here. It's like, I gotta go home.
It got
And
better.
we got here, got inside, and nobody was here. Nothing.
And so I read that Shanann hadn't taken place.
What just happened there?
Yeah, because like Bella was gonna start kindergarten next Monday, and they were just getting ready to start back again.
And so what kind of, your friend Nicole kind of tipped you off on something.
Yeah, because like she was here at the front door, and
So should I
that's
skip
when I
ahead?
got, okay, like,
Because we
it's
can't
not
really
gonna
hear
be anybody
Chris,
else either.
but I
This
think
is-
it's just
this is
because
like hers.
it was being
I mean,
recorded through a
she-
laptop
she works
speaker.
at direct sales business.
Yeah, I need to
And that's
edit
her-
this, you know,
that's
piece
what she
together.
said.
This was like,
And
it was
for her
just
not
so
to
good. I had to
respond
go
any of her
live. I
people,
didn't have the
that- I mean,
microphone
she doesn't
set
follow
up,
me,
so
that's
it's
fine.
going
I'm
to
like,
take some
she's busy,
editing.
she's got stuff going on.
But-
Yeah, I think
not to
if we
respond to
skip
her
ahead,
people, that
we'll be
was-
able to hear TJ
not like
explain
her.
what he sees there.
Chris, you've got a beautiful family, you know, and it looks like you all love each other very much. Where are they? I want them back.
I can't in the next like unlock, but that's
Well.
normal for a left. And
I know I heard you guys talk about this because I skipped to this
Actually,
part.
you know what, Rob? There's something I
Celeste,
noticed,
she's
and
just a ball of energy. She's called her Rampage because she's just always. She's got Bella.
Yeah, I think you
she's the
guys
more
are-
calm, cautious personality where she's always by safe
wow. Okay, so you
Look
guys,
here,
that I know of, and every friend that I have.
you guys may not be able to like see very clearly, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can.
Yeah, there was lots of problems.
So he's going to kind of like reset this so we can take a look at where the problems were. But you guys could already kind of see this thing was lighting up like crazy. And, you know, TJ, there was something interesting. He kept mentioning, I don't know if someone took her from the backyard, and I noticed it went off. He mentions the backyard, and I never noticed that before. And everyone has a lot of theories that she was taken out of the backyard, not through the garage like he confessed to originally. So that is kind of interesting. But as you guys can see how cool this technology is, I mean,
Well, I can see it. Yep.
and because he's confessed now, we know where he's telling the truth and where he's lying as
Right.
well.
Hello.
I think I had to stop it
It
and
is?
start the one. Yeah, that was the psychic call.
Yes, I am. Yes, hold on one second, okay?
Oh, you got a phone call.
Take it on.
So I think
Yeah,
that's all the
okay,
video
guys,
footage
we
you
gotta
got.
go.
We will be
No,
back
then
with
we had
an
to
update.
start over. We had to like start. So that was when the psychic called. So then we had to start another live. But you know what, Rob? I think we should just even do maybe like a separate on that, because then we can add the Art Watts tags and all that stuff.
Right.
But just as a preview, like, I was blown away. And then also for the very first time listening to that audio was the very first time I ever noticed how like Chris himself brought up that theory about Shanann being taken out the back window, you know, and like all these people are
So
saying,
what did it say? Did it say he was lying about that?
I don't recall what it said. It was like high tension. I'd have to go back. I have kind of the time.
So
code,
what are the things that it light? I know it lights up,
Okay.
but
So
it doesn't say
says,
lie or truth. It says a whole bunch
it
of
does
different.
not, because legally it is not 100% accurate, right? So to avoid being sued, we have to use the term inaccuracy. And then
Is there different levels of inaccuracy?
yes, so there's different
Yeah.
levels, and TJ kind of explains this on my GoPro, so that'll get added later. But so here are some of the things that light up. We have stressed, which came up a lot during the Wisconsin interview, because we know, you know, they kind of popped up on him. Inaccuracy, and then false statement means they're lying to us. Probable false. So you can tell like the difference between false statement is kind of like, we know they're lying, and then there's probable false, and then inaccuracy, and then there's also one that will pop up that says like not sure. So that kind of means the person is like, it's almost reading what that person is thinking. So in that interview, TJ explained to me there's a lot of times where Chris is in his mind thinking, I need to say the right thing to make this reporter believe me. And it would continue to light up. Now, the interesting thing is when he would talk about the kids and he would talk about their personality, it would say low risk, low risk, low risk. So low risk was meaning they're telling the truth. So it was interesting to see where, you know, he's telling the truth and then he starts talking about the last time he saw Shanann, the last time he talked to her. Then you see where he starts to get nervous talking about all these scenarios that could happen. There was even one false statement when he actually this was really, I don't want to like go and say this for a fact, but I remember he was talking about, I want everyone back, and inaccuracy popped up, and that like kind of broke my heart, because I was like,
Oh my God.
that
Yeah,
literally
that
means
was-
he doesn't care, right? Or
Mhm.
it showed he had no emotion to what he was saying. I mean, regardless.
But he could have said that, and then it triggered that particular thing because he already knew what happened to them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but it was really mind-blowing to see the difference in that interview and then see the one in Wisconsin where he's nervous because they're there, but he's also being very truthful about everything he's talking about.
You know, I know what everybody else wants to really know about. The real question is,
Right.
is Nicole Kessinger being truthful?
Yes.
That's what we want to know the most. That is like the biggest thing. We already know Chris is, you know, a liar, but we really, really want to know, did Nicole Kessinger have anything to do with it?
Yeah, and that's something TJ and I talked a lot about. We did not run the audio today. We want to discuss with a lawyer. I mean, technically we could privately do it if we want to. But if we were to, which I think, you know, we might do for our own kicks. But when we talk about putting it out on a platform, I'm going to be honest with you. If it came back where she's not telling the truth, I think the first step is actually contacting the FBI and sharing this information with them, because TJ is a legitimate, private investigator. So it would be really concerning. I mean, but it also may just show she's nervous. I mean, I don't know what it's going to say, because we didn't do it. We want to consult with a lawyer first and make sure we're doing this the right way. We don't want to implicate someone who has not been charged with a crime. Yes, the internet is going rampant, wanting to know.
The only thing I think would it might be a little disappointing if we found out she was telling the truth the entire time. Because
Well,
everybody
I think that would
speculated
put
so much on this. If we find out that no, she's telling the truth, she's distraught because she's confused. She's got a boyfriend that she loves who turned out to be a monster.
Right. And to be honest, Rob, if we do it and we find that out, first, yes, I'm going to consult a lawyer, even though it's a positive
I know, yeah.
outcome for her. I feel that would be good. I also think there's going to be people who say it's not true, but I mean, this thing is accurate. So I think we would all feel a little peace of mind. And I was explaining to TJ, like, he doesn't know how big this case is. This was not a case he was involved in. I told him, I said, once we start launching this kind of stuff on your YouTube page, people are going to be bothering you all day long. I said, it is a crazy case. If we can find out that, she was just stressed out, she got involved with the wrong type of person, she has no involvement. Here's the problem too, Rob. They didn't ask her those questions. So we really.
But they did ask her. They didn't ask. They stated, you didn't do anything like say, tell them it's me or them.
Right.
Those
You
statements
didn't
to
give
be
him an
made.
ultimatum.
And she's like, no, oh God, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it can tell if that's a lie or not, but
it can.
it wasn't a question. It was a statement, and she responded.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Let's say it comes up false statement or inaccuracy. That's showing something's going on with the statement. And then I would think, some more questioning, more direct questioning needs to be had. But it would be interesting, like when she says, I only went to that house, 3 times. I think that will be accurate. I'd actually be interested to see when Kevin Kovac asks, did you love him? And she says, well, I think he was more into me. I actually would be very interested to see what happened, with that part of it.
I suspect it was mutual. They were both.
I do too. But right, I'm just reading Rabbit down the rabbit hole's comment. Yeah, I mean, I'm treading very lightly, you guys, with this. Like, I am not getting sued over. Oh shoot, my battery's gonna run out here shortly, Rob. I'm not getting sued over something like this. And like I said, if TJ and I did run it and everything comes back false statements, I feel an obligation that TJ needs to take that to authorities under his name. I'm a former journalist. I don't really have much clout as TJ does and what his line of work is. I think, he probably already has contacts in the FBI where he would be like, hey, you guys were investigating this case, but you didn't take it this far. Here's some information I have if you want to look into it further. But yeah, I'm fascinated by this equipment, and I wanted to do that Chris Watts one because I wanted to show people how accurate it is, because you damn well know, Rob, even if it shows that she's telling the truth, people are going to deny it though.
Right.
Because
You know, the thing with like, why didn't they give her a lie detector test? You know, I don't think those are very accurate. Like the first time I saw the interview with Chris Watts being told that this is like, you know, proof, this is 100% proof that we know what you did. The way they presented that was a lie. And I really, initially, I hated that. I thought it was, you know,
yeah,
borderline. I
and
mean, it was
I was
over the
telling
line
TJ, it's
coercion.
like this
And,
technology could save so much time, because if authorities had this technology at their fingertips, all they had to do is run that. That was a TV interview. That was before they even sat down with the guy, you know, and like then they could know, all right, we need to start grilling him hard, you know, like let's not play games of, you know, like they would have brought Coder in there immediately and been like, okay, tell us where the bodies are, because
yeah, I
we
think
know you're
people are going to
lying.
have an issue. Like, they're going to be like, well, what about actors? Can they fake it? You know, but people can fake lie detector tests too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not perfect and it's still useful. It's a useful tool, and we see it in the
Yeah.
Chris Watts case. Had they not done that lie detector test, had they not convinced him that it was, you know, proof that they knew what he did, he wouldn't have confessed. And because they
Yes.
got the confession, you know, they put him behind bars.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a tool that they use, and it's a good tool to use, I think. And I
well,
don't
I
know why
like,
they wouldn't want to have another tool that works the same, or at least as good or better than what they already have. I don't
right.
know when the lie detector test was invented, but I know it was a long time ago.
Yeah. And I mean, I really don't know what TJ charges, you know, to use this. I'm sure a good penny, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's some high tech stuff. I like this thing that Mirabelle asked about, can a sociopath pass it? I will ask TJ that, because there is, you know, I think we all know there's the terms that are used over a lot, like narcissist and sociopath. But let's say Chris in his head, or Nicole in their head, believed themselves, then can they pass this test? I get what she's asking. And that's something I would like to ask TJ is.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, anything that's going to be reading your tones, reading your patterns, and all that stuff. If you're a good enough actor, you could probably fool it. But
Yeah.
that's why these things aren't like 100%. They can be fooled. It doesn't make them any less a tool that's usable, that can, you know,
Yeah. I
save
think that
time.
person needs to be like highly trained in how to lie on lie detector tests. You know, there's
Did you ever watch Maury back in the day when he was doing all these, like, you might be
yes.
the father things?
Yes, of
Like, all
course.
those people, like, taking the lie detector test, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're not the father, and
Yeah.
here's proof," and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. I think half of those people were accurately, like, pegged for whatever, and the other half weren't, because of, like, the stupid things like lie detector tests. You know, "You lied about this. You lied about
You know
that."
what? That reminds me, if you haven't seen, I don't know if it's on Netflix. I think it is. There is a whole documentary on Jerry Springer, and it is so interesting, actually.
You know, Jerry Springer killed the talk shows. You know,
And
there used to be
they
cool ones
admit
like
it.
Current
They admit
Affairs
it.
and,
This
you know,
documentary.
Geraldo Rivera, you know, he was doing
Yes.
real stories that mattered, and then it
Yeah.
turned into, "You're not the father,"
And
you
that's
know?
funny you say that, because Geraldo did do like a little cameo in this, and he said like the day that he had a quote about the day that OJ Simpson chase happened was the day he realized like this is how he wants to do television news, you know, like live chasing the Bronco and reporting. And he also kind of mentions how like Jerry Springer just kind of ruined journalism for him. And Jerry
It
Springer
ruined
was
it for the whole
actually a
country
journalist.
because the whole country was obsessed with Jerry Springer back in the
Right.
90s. All they wanted to see was who was sleeping with whose sister, and
Right.
you know, the fight that happens afterwards. That's all anybody ever
Yeah.
wanted to see after that.
You
But there
gotta
used to
watch
be
this stuff.
who was it, like
It's
Ricky Lake,
yeah,
Sally
Jesse
Jesse
Jones.
Raphael, and they would actually have real stories that mattered, a lot like Oprah does or did. I haven't watched any. Does she still do Oprah? Like, is
No,
there still an Oprah?
she retired, but I think she has like a once in a while type. I mean, she's got her own channel, but like she has a once in a while where are they now type segments. But yeah, I'm telling you that documentary was really good. There's also a good called Trial by Media, and they talk about this episode of Jenny Jones of how actually it might be a good like little crime story for us to talk about where the producers lied to this person and told them someone's in love with you, come on the show to find out who they are. And it ended up being a man. And the guy's reputation was so destroyed and he was so embarrassed that he ended up killing the guy and I believe himself. But it just goes to show you like how dangerous these. I mean, I worked in television news. I didn't work on TV shows. That's a whole different ball game. You know, like these shows like The Bachelor and all that kind of stuff. Like they want drama. The drama gives ratings.
Yeah.
So these producers will lie. Just like you'd be really interested in the Jerry Springer one.
Yeah. Writing down the rabbit hole says Jerry Springer got his nose broke by a guest once. Well, guess what? He deserved it. He was an a-hole from hell. He was probably
the mayor
the
before.
most, like sociopathic radio or talk show host guy ever because he didn't care as long as he got ratings. He didn't care whose families he destroyed. He didn't care anything like that. He had no empathy at all for these people that he brought on his show. And he probably was happy that he got his nose broke too, because it gave him some more ratings, you know?
He did in the beginning because he was a serious journalist before the show. And money talks, right? So like when you're making, I don't know, let's say he was making 100K in Chicago as a journalist, and then he's making like 500K as Jerry Springer's talk show. Money talks, you know what I mean?
Who was the bouncer guy?
Steve Wilkos.
Oh God, yeah, that guy was.
Then
cool.
he got his own spin-off show.
Yeah, that guy was cool. I liked him. You know, he wasn't the guy in charge, so I liked him. But I didn't watch the Jerry Springer show myself.
I was a Jenny Jones. Oops, I gotta pull this mic up towards the front. I was a Jenny Jones fan. Oh, I want to pin Rabbit Hole's comment, but it won't let me pin comments. Money talks and BS walks. I like that. But yeah, Steve. Oh, I think to a point where Steve was not even a real bodyguard. He was kind of just a character. And then they had to have like other bodyguards involved too. But
yeah, they really should have just kept everybody like separated by like metal bars and, you know, bulletproof glass, because everybody he brought on that show wanted to kill each other. And they caught it all on camera.
Yeah, they even said if you don't have a fight, like you're getting fired to the producers. I mean, this was back in, you know, the late 90s where you could tell your employees things like that and get away with it. But yeah, very interesting documentary. I say check it out if you haven't.
All right, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and hop off of here.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. I think. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we will update you guys if this family does reach out to TJ. We'll bring TJ back on and we'll talk about what the family said to him and all that.
I really hope they do. I think they probably will.
Yes,
It
just by
sounds like
watching them
they
others.
want answers, and this is the guy that will help them get answers.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. So this weekend, be on the lookout for the Ed Kemper video that I'm going to be releasing. It's actually one of my best written stories, so I hope you guys check it out. It's actually about 25 minutes long, so it's a lot longer than all my other ones. So I think I actually covered everything in it that you guys probably want to know. And then on Sunday, I'm hoping to have another live stream. Hopefully Jennifer will be here again. But if not, I'll still have some sort of live ready for Sunday.
I'm reading a comment of mine. I like Springer.
What is it?
Someone wrote, I like Jerry Springer. I'm reading one of the comments on mine.
Well, I think at least half of America loved Jerry Springer. They were obsessed.
Well, they did. Look at the ratings. That proves it.
Exactly. I was probably one of the few people that didn't like the show. But I actually enjoyed the other talk shows. And, I was a kid at the time. So it was kind of weird that I liked the real talk shows and not the fake one.
Well, they were good. It gave you like a perspective of what the real world, well, not the real world, but what we thought was the real world.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you for having me on, Rob, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right. You guys have a good night. I'll catch you in the next video.